From the corner of the small room, Susan zipped up a faded travel bag. Her face was cold, her movements sharp. Thomas watched her silently for a while before speaking, his voice trembling. "Susan, are you really doing this?" He asked quietly, trying to hide the tears burning behind his eyes. She didn't answer. Instead, she folded a blouse and stuffed it into the bag. The twins sat on the bed, confused. "Mommy, are we going somewhere?" Praise asked, her little voice innocent and hopeful. Susan froze for a moment, then turned around and sighed. "No, Praise. Mommy is just going away for some time." Faith tilted her head. "Can we come too?" Susan's lips pressed into a hard line. "No, my dear. You stay here with your father." Thomas stood up, panic rising in his chest. "Susan, please don't do this. We can fix things. I know life is hard, but the girls need you." She let out a bitter laugh. "Fix things? Thomas, you call this life? I'm tired of managing. I'm tired of poverty. I can't keep living like this, eating once a day, watching you struggle and fail." He took a deep breath. "I'm trying. I'm doing everything I can." Susan looked at him, eyes full of frustration. "Trying is not enough. You're a good man, Thomas, but love doesn't feed children. It doesn't pay rent. I'm done suffering." She slung her bag over her shoulder and walked toward the door. Thomas moved to block her. "Please, Susan. Think about the girls. They love you. Don't walk away from your family." She looked him straight in the eyes and said coldly, "They are not my problem anymore." And just like that, she walked out. No goodbye hug. No last look. Just silence and the sound of the door closing behind her. For a long time, Thomas stood still, staring at the door as if hoping she'd come back. But she didn't. His chest tightened. He sat on the floor, holding his head in his hands. The twins slowly climbed down from the bed and went to him. "Daddy, why did Mommy leave?" Faith asked softly. Thomas swallowed hard, forcing a smile through his tears. "She just needs some time, my loves. But Daddy is here. Daddy will always be here." Praise touched his face with her tiny hands. "Don't cry, Daddy. We will help you. We will make you happy." Those words, simple as they were, cut deep into his heart. He pulled his daughters close, hugging them tightly as tears rolled down his cheeks. In that moment, he made a silent promise. "No matter how hard life gets, I will never abandon you." The days that followed were hard. Thomas had to play both father and mother. He woke early every morning, prepared pap and akara for the girls before walking them to school. Then he would rush off to the construction site where he worked as a laborer, carrying cement blocks under the scorching sun. By evening, he'd return home exhausted, his clothes soaked in sweat and dust. But even when his body was weak, his love for his daughters gave him strength. At night, the three of them would sit together around a small kerosene lantern, eating gari and groundnut. The twins would tell him stories from school, how Praise answered questions correctly in class, how Faith helped a friend who fell. And Thomas would laugh, nodding proudly. Those were the only moments of peace he had. Years passed. The twins grew taller, smarter, and more beautiful. Praise was bold and outspoken, the dreamer. Faith was calm and thoughtful, the planner. Together, they made a perfect team. Even though life was tough, they never complained. They wore torn uniforms but walked with their heads held high. They watched their father struggle every day, and that struggle became their motivation. Sometimes, they'd hear people whisper, "Oh, those are Thomas's children. The poor man whose wife ran away." But instead of feeling shame, the girls would smile and say, "One day, our daddy will be proud." Thomas did his best to give them everything: love, discipline, faith. He couldn't afford much, but he gave what mattered most: guidance and belief. When the twins turned 16, something amazing happened. One evening, they borrowed their father's small, old phone to record a song they wrote together. Their voices blended like honey and water, sweet and smooth. They didn't think much of it. They just posted it on the internet using free Wi-Fi from a nearby cybercafe. A week later, something unbelievable happened. Their video went viral. People across Nigeria were sharing their voices, calling them the Miracle Twins. Within days, local radio stations started playing their song. Then came an invitation: a big music producer from Lagos wanted to meet them. Thomas couldn't believe it. "Are you sure this is real?" he asked in disbelief. Praise giggled. "Yes, Daddy. He wants to help us make an album. The journey from Abakaliki to Lagos was not easy. Thomas borrowed money for transport. When they arrived, they were amazed by the tall buildings and bright lights. The producer, a kind man named Mr. ADEMOYE, saw potential in them. He offered to sign them, train them, and produce their music. Months turned into years, and the twins' careers exploded. Their songs touched hearts across Africa. Their story, two poor girls raised by a single father, inspired millions. By the time they turned 24, Praise and Faith were international stars. They had awards, endorsements, and mansions. The world called them the billionaire twins. But through it all, they never forgot where they came from. Every success reminded them of their father's tears, his sacrifices, and his love. One quiet afternoon, many years later, Thomas was sitting outside his small old house, peeling cassava when a black SUV stopped in front of him. Two beautiful women stepped out, elegant, confident, dressed in fine clothes. He squinted, not recognizing them immediately. Then one of them smiled and said softly, "Daddy, it's us." It was Praise and Faith. Tears filled his eyes instantly. He dropped the knife and ran to them, hugging them tightly. "My babies. My girls," he cried. They laughed and cried together, holding him for a long time. They told him how successful they had become and how they had come to take him with them, to live a better life. They drove him to Lagos, and when the car stopped, Thomas could hardly believe his eyes. Before him stood a massive mansion, shining white with glass doors and beautiful flowers. "Daddy," Praise said, smiling, "this is your new home." Thomas shook his head, overwhelmed. "My home? This big house?" Faith nodded. "Yes. You suffered enough. Now it's time to rest." He walked slowly through the mansion, touching the walls and furniture, tears running down his face. He sat down and covered his eyes. "I never thought I'd live to see this day," he whispered. Praise knelt beside him. "Daddy, you believed in us when nobody else did. Everything we are today, it's because of you." He hugged them again, his voice breaking. "My daughters, you've made me the happiest father in the world." A few months later, word spread that the twins were billionaires. Their mother, Susan, heard the news. She was living in another town, struggling to survive after years of disappointment. When she saw their faces on TV, she couldn't believe her eyes. Those little girls she abandoned had become famous, rich, and powerful. Guilt ate her up. One morning, she came to Lagos, standing at the gate of the mansion, tears in her eyes. When Thomas saw her, he was shocked. She looked worn out, older, and full of regret. "Thomas," she said softly. "Please, forgive me. I was foolish." Thomas was quiet for a long time. Then he said gently, "Susan, the girls are inside. You can see them." "But wait, so you want to know what the twins did when they saw their mother, but you haven't liked the video, right?" Side eye. Serious bombastic side eye. LOL. When Praise and Faith saw their mother, they froze. Years of pain filled the silence. But Praise stepped forward slowly and said, "Mom, we forgive you." Susan broke down crying. "I don't deserve your forgiveness." Faith smiled through her tears. "Maybe not, but God gave us a father who taught us how to love even when we've been hurt." They hugged her. It was a moment of healing, not just for Susan, but for all of them. That evening, the family held a small celebration in the mansion. Neighbors, friends, and staff joined them. Music filled the air. Thomas sat at the center of the room, watching his daughters dance and laugh. For the first time in years, he felt complete. He whispered to himself, "Thank you, God. My tears were not in vain." Praise noticed and came over. "Daddy, are you crying again?" He chuckled. "These are not sad tears, my daughter. These are tears of joy." Faith held his hand. "We told you, Daddy, one day, you'll be proud." Years later, when people asked Praise and Faith about their success, they always said the same thing. "We owe everything to our father, the man who never gave up on us, even when life broke him." Thomas became a symbol of strength, love, and perseverance. And whenever he saw a struggling single parent, he would smile and say, "Never stop believing in your children. One day, your tears will turn to laughter." Because for Thomas, the man who once wept alone in a small leaking room, the world had finally seen his worth through the shining success of the daughters he raised with love. Before we say the moral of this story, I want to let you know that if you aren't among our over 1,000 subscribers, you are probably missing more than you can imagine, so subscribe to be part of our family, and enjoy premium and hot stories weekly. And also, if you have watched this story till now, it is because you enjoyed it. Please be kind enough to give us a like, it is free of charge. Moral of the story. Sometimes, pain is just the beginning of purpose. The people who leave you may not see your future, but God always does. Never stop giving love, even when you're broken. Because one day, that love will come back to you, multiplied 1,000 times.